So this is probably one of the tape jobs you guys are going to do the most while working with a sports team. So I'm just going to get my plies down here. So when you're doing an ankle tape job, the majority of them are ATFL. So you want to limit inversion of the ankle. So we want to pull her into eversion and then maybe a little bit of dorsiflexion. So when you're doing these tape jobs, first thing we're going to do is we're going to apply our pre-tape spray. And then your heel and lace pads, this is what they're actually used for, the heel and the lace. So you're going to take 2 heel and lace pads. The majority of the chafing or irritation will occur in these 2 areas. So with your Vaseline, you're going to take a little bit on these 2 pads. You're going to place one on the lace and one over the Achilles. And that's going to provide a nice frictionless surface so they're not getting that irritation. Slide down, slide down. Okay, you're going to try and keep your athlete completely dorsiflexed the whole time. And we're going to lay down our pro wrap. So then we begin with our anchors. Okay, so with your anchors, you want to make sure you don't start too high, unless of course you're working with mixed martial arts, they come a little bit higher. You want to start basically where the calves taper off and where you start encountering the myotendinous junction where the Achilles will start. Okay, so I usually err on the side of starting a little bit lower. So we're going to have one anchor there. And then the majority of people, if they do complain the tape is too tight when they step down, they'll complain that it's pinching them on their medial arch. So when you're putting your anchor down here, it's important you ask your athlete to splay their toes, make them as wide as possible, so that you can come down and put your anchor here while that's a little bit wider. And you want to just keep it a little more proximal to the base of the fifth. Okay? If they can't splay their toes, one thing I keep in my bag is I have those little pedicure things that you stick in between the toes, and I've actually had to use those a few times because people can't splay their toes. So with an acute ankle sprain, majority of the time you can just use your zinc oxide and you'll be fine doing that. However, if it was very acute and they were worried about a lot of inversion, then that's when you can use your leukotape for your stirrups. So when we do a stirrup, we're basically trying to bring our athlete into eversion. So she's going to keep dorsiflexed the entire time. And if she forgets, you can just remind her by keeping your thigh on her foot so she keeps her in that dorsiflexed position. I like doing stirrups with the leukotape. You don't have to, but it just provides a lot of extra support. So I hit her with my thigh, bring her up into dorsiflexion, and I meet back up at the anchor here. Okay, and every time you put down a stirrup, you're going to seal it. Keep your foot up. And we're going to come down with a second stirrup here. Nice and tight. And we're going to seal it, and we're going to get a little bit lower. And again, there's nothing wrong with using zinc oxide for your stirrups as well. I just find that this provides them with the structural support they need. And we're going to do a third one. And again, we'd seal it a little bit lower. Okay? So those are the stirrups components in terms of bringing the ankle into eversion. And then from here you can begin your figure eights. So I usually start on the medial side. You're going to come under the arch, come laterally, around the Achilles tendon, and then you're going to end where you started. Okay, and I usually do 2 of those. Keep your foot up. And then you can get into your heel lock. And your heel lock is basically trying to stabilize the talocrural joint, where you're stabilizing the talus to the calcaneus. And to do that, you can start down here. You're going to come around the heel. And off up here. Everyone, now certain people do heel locks differently. Another way you can do them is you come underneath the heel. Oh, I just did that one actually. And come around the Achilles. And you can go into a double heel lock if you want. Where you come down. You go around the heel here and around the Achilles. Okay, so I'm going to show you that again, a little slower. So your heel lock, you're coming down and around the heel, around the Achilles. You could end there, or you could go into a double heel lock where you come down. And you always look where you want to go, because if you just start pulling your tape in random directions, you're going to get it all bunched up. Around the heel, around the Achilles. The end on. Okay, you don't have to do the heel lock if you don't want. Some athletes don't like the tension there. But again, if you do want to stabilize the talocrural joint, you want to have that there. So then we might have some open windows here and there where we don't have tape, so we want to start sealing off those windows. So I was just sealing a window on the medial side. Come down and tidy this up. And again, we're going to come and seal off our original anchor. Okay, so everything's nice and sealed. We don't have any open windows. We've got a clean tape job. And then the final test is to get her to step down. And if she steps down and says everything's fine under her arch, then you know you're okay and you don't have to go and make any modifications. So we'll leave this running, and that's the more of the high-level stabilization with the leukotape, zinc oxide throughout. However, I'm going to show you another one that's a little more minimalistic if they just want a little more stabilization on the lower ankle, but they don't want that tight tape job. So let's get another ankle in here. All right.
Which one?
This one.
Alright. So are you thinking this way is going to be maybe for more like a sport where they need foot function, like a soccer player or something?
Well, I've found sometimes I'll tape some girls' ankles or some guys' ankles, and they say, I don't like it too tight. Or I don't like it when it pinches here. I just really want some stabilization on the lower ankle, ATFL, or in my heel. So what you can do here is you can use more of your stretchy type tape as your anchors, because a lot of the times the athletes don't like it when it's too tight here. So zinc oxide might be a bit too much for them. So you got to stay disciplined and keep your foot in dorsal flexion. Okay, so I'm not going to put the Pro Wrap and everything on here. I'm just going to go with this tape because it's not as sticky. Okay, and this is going to be much more minimalistic. Again, from here, we can stabilize by doing our figure 8. Coming around the Achilles. Around. And then as well, we can get into our heel lock. And we come down under the heel. We're coming around the Achilles. We're coming down under the hip heel. And around the Achilles. Perfect. Okay, and you can do this twice. And this is just another opportunity to display the heel lock. So I come around the Achilles, down under the heel, around the Achilles. So all of this, we seal our window here. all of this is focused more on the ankle mortise and the talocrural, and we're not getting as much of the eversion with the stirrups there. So you can see, like, you feel secure in here, but you're not too tight down here or up here. And then to seal this one, we would take our Power Flex. And I find a lot of athletes like this if they have had issues in the past where, you know, a tape job has been too tight and they had to cut it. It's just a nice option for them. Come around and seal off any open windows. Okay, and that's not too tight, so when he steps down, he'll feel the support in the subtalar joint and to the ankle mortise, but it's not going to provide him that massive eversion type stability. Okay, so it's just a secondary option if you do want to try that one as well.
So for this one, you don't do the stirrups, right?